All right, here we go. Hello everyone, my name is Alan Thrall, and this is the fourth of 4 videos in this form check series where I review your videos that you sent me. And I'll probably do this again at some point, but I'll make sure to announce it when I do. For now, I'm going to end it here. A lot of really good videos. A lot of videos that didn't need any corrections. I just gave you a thumbs up, green light, continue doing what you're doing. But did get to take a look at a lot of videos, and hopefully this series has helped some of you that didn't send any videos. You just got some tidbits you can take away with you. So about the corrections that I'm making, I want to sort of triage these movements right when I get them, or these videos. Give you the biggest corrections that you can take with you that should help you immediately. You can implement them and help you with your lifts, send you on your way. I don't want to try to correct every little detail because I don't think it's necessary, and I don't want you to overthink things. A lot of people will say, oh, you should bring your stance in, bring your grip in. You should don't bend over so much when you squat, put the bar higher. All of those corrections that I could make, that maybe I want to make, I have to ask myself, why am I making that correction? And oftentimes I don't have a good reason. And I think a lot of other people who are very trigger happy with giving corrections also don't have a good reason. They just want to change the way your lift looks to make it look a certain way. It's just for aesthetic reasons. Ew, that doesn't look very good. Go ahead and change this and this and that. It's just not necessary. Oh, you bend over too much when you squat. You put the bar too low. Put the bar high on your back and do a high bar squat. That would look a lot better. But if you do a low bar squat and you have to bend over quite a bit in order to reach depth and to stay balanced, you continue doing that. So I don't think that making adjustments just for the sake of aesthetic reasons, just to make your lifts look different, is helpful. So with that said, I could make corrections to everyone's video. Change this, change that. But when I ask myself why, I don't have a great reason. And so if I don't have a good reason, I'm not going to include it in this video, and I'm not going to make the correction. All right. Form check in no particular order. Video number 1. We've got John. John is on the hunt for a 225-pound overhead press. And here he is doing 180 pounds for 5 reps. So this angle here that we'll use is a tough angle to see much of anything, but it actually was helpful because I can see that you use a very narrow grip and your elbows are out farther than your hands. If I was to, tell a beginner, when I tell a beginner how to do an overhead press, I would like their hand, wrist, and forearm hand, wrist, forearm, and elbow to all be in line with each other, perpendicular to the bar. I don't want your hands outside of your arms, and I don't want your elbows outside of your hands. And your elbows are definitely outside of them. Now, the reason this can be a problem is you're sort of leaving a lot of muscle on the table, leaving a lot of weight on the table, leaving a lot of weight off the bar, because you're turning it into more like a standing tricep press. If you were to do a tricep overextension with that narrow grip, it's the same thing, you're just doing it from the front here. So you're doing this, it's a lot of triceps. Really good for building your triceps, and looks like you have some pretty fat triceps. But I think that widening your grip just ever so slightly is going to help you get a little bit more shoulders in there. But other than that, looks good. I would make a comment on your overhead press lockout. Hold that weight at the top. I don't care if you do 5 reps. I don't care if you do 6 reps. I don't care if you do 4 reps. I care more about clean reps. 1 rep at a time. Start, finish, lock out hard. Start, finish, lock out hard. If that means you only get 4 reps, so be it. So don't get into the hunt or the chase of just numbers of gotta get this 5, gotta bang out these reps to get this 5. Doesn't do you any good if they're not quality reps. And 200, when you're at your maximum, so if you're trying to get 225 pounds for overhead press, I think you have the strength for it right now. But because that's a maximum weight, you've got to be perfect. You got to thread that needle. And if you are not finishing the lockout, or you're pressing out a little bit away from your body, it's going to be exponentially harder when you're at maximum weights, when you're at 225 pounds. So I would say pause at the top. Pause at the top, lock it out, like you were showing the entire gym, I just finished this rep. Pose, if you will. But other than that, good pressing, strong pressing, good shoulders, strong shoulders, even stronger triceps. Next video is a sandbag, and I'm including this because it's an excellent example of how you pick up a sandbag, how you do extension with a sandbag, or he's doing sandbag to shoulder. So what is he doing correctly? This is UV, he's doing a 160 pound sandbag. So if you notice, pause, so first he gets his hands right around the diameter of the sandbag. Arms are fairly straight down, right around the diameter of the sandbag. He's not trying to cradle the sandbag from behind. He's not trying to get over the sandbag at the start. He's right in the center. That's the balance point. Next, he's not trying to slap his hands on the side of the sandbag, digging his hands underneath the sandbag. Sandbag picks and stone picks are like an extreme deficit deadlift. You're putting your knuckles on the ground. Your hands are flat. So this is exactly how you want to do it. You want to cradle the sandbag with your wrists. Your arms are straight, cables hanging at the sides. And then if you notice, his hands are right inside of his toes, like the balls of his foot. That's also good. Some people, when they set up, will be too far back. Their feet will be too far back behind the sandbag or the stone. And then when you pick this up, knees are just ever so slightly bent, but his shins are fairly vertical. The mistake with doing this is trying to squat the sandbag up, sitting your hips down too low. Now your knees are in the way, and the bag's going to clip your knees on the way up. You're just going to be in a bad position. So hips are high. His hips are higher than his shoulders. It's a perfect position. You'll pick it up, one movement, right into your lap, and then he does a catch, and he readjusts his hands at that point. A little squat down. Doesn't need to be ass to grass, doesn't need to be too deep, just low enough to get your belly underneath the sandbag or the stone. And then when he comes up, he pops up to his shoulder really well. So the one thing I'll say about this, the sandbag, because it is hamburger style right now, so it is left to right. Hot dog style would be tall, top to bottom. Because you're doing it left to right, that's a little bit easier to pick it up. It's easier to balance that way when you pick it up. But it makes the hamburger sandbag harder to get up to your shoulder. You want to put a hot dog sandbag up to your shoulder so that when you're holding it here, it's tall, so you can just work it up your body. When it's long like this and it's heavy, you have to turn the sandbag, switch the sandbag. So it just adds another element that's difficult for some people. You're doing a good job of it, I think, because it's pretty light for you. So you pick it up to your lap, everything looks good, and then you really wrench your head around to get it on your shoulder. That all looks good, but I think that with heavier sandbags, you should try that hot dog style. Which brings me to the next video, another sandbag video. You gotta love it. So this was 308 pound sandbag to his shoulder. This is Mike.
Come on, Big Mike.
Come on, Big Mike, let's get it. All right, so this, you'll notice he picks it up hot dog style. So it is long ways, top to bottom, not side to side. And this makes it, this is more difficult to pick up because you have so much weight in front of your hands, so much weight behind your hands, that it's very hard to find that balance point. If you do pick it up off-centered, it's just going to flop on you. So you have to be in a good position. It also is difficult when all that weight is, all that bag is behind your hands, because now you have to get into your lap. So if you're shorter, stockier, stubbier, shorter legs, shorter arms, it's very hard to pick up and get to your lap. Mike does a really good job here of getting it on top of his lap. So what I would say to you, Mike, once you're there, that pick was great. Once it's onto your lap, you need to hug it a tiny bit lower. You're still up here center, you're a little bit above center. So all the bag's below, most of the bag's below your hands. You need to make that thing top heavy. You need to get the weight up higher so that once you get it up your shoulder, it's just gonna tip onto your shoulder. So you'll see here, you get it up, you stand up, but it's just stuck to your body. It's not moving anywhere. You've got to be a little more active with your hands. You're doing a good job of popping your feet and your knees and your hips, but you can't reach down and commit to that. You can't just curl it up with one arm. You've got to pop it up, get it up your shoulder, and it's so close, dude, so close. I actually did a stone to shoulder with a 321 pound stone last year at a strongman competition. And I had never seen the stone before. I just kind of got an eye for it right beforehand. I had never tried to pick it up until it was go time, time started. And I tried to pick this thing up and I just couldn't get it up, tip it up to my shoulder. And I realized watching the video after the fact that I had the heavier part at the bottom and the lighter part up top. So I'm trying to overcome that. I can't. So if I would have done it again, I would have flipped it upside down. So the skinnier part, the lighter part's in the bottom, heavier part up top. That way when it was on my lap, I could have just kind of tipped it up there. So you've got to get more of that weight above your arms, above that center point. Next video is Ryan. He's doing a 225-pound row for 3 reps. Now, I don't know if you're just doing these 3 reps just because it's a form check video and you're trying to show me a couple reps. But if you are doing this in your program, I would suggest lowering the weight and upping the reps. When you do a movement, you should always ask, why am I doing this movement? And chances are you're doing a barbell row because you're trying to build up your lats, your mid back, and your upper back. You're trying to build muscle in your back. And what you're doing here with the really low reps, one, it's just not as great for hypertrophy as, you know, maybe as low as 6, but like 8, 10, 12 reps. I don't like really high reps of rows, bent over rows, 12, 15 reps, because it is exhausting and you're just bent over in that position for so long. If you've ever done a set of 15 heavy barbell rows, it is damn hard and you don't want to do a whole lot after that. So I don't like to go past 12, but I would suggest using stricter form. I know that using some body English is okay. And in fact, if you watch Ed Cohen do his barbell rows back in the day, he would use quite a bit of body English and swing. I think that it's okay to use a little bit at the very end. So you should pull with your back and your arms, and at the very end you can kind of raise your body in order to get a little bit more out of that bar to get it to touch your body. The barbell row is a lengthened biased movement, meaning you can do a bunch of reps in that half rep range from the bottom to mid range, but it's touching your body. That's going to fail first. It's trying to get that bar to touch your body. And so you know, last few reps you can use a little bit of body English. So if you were doing a set of 10 and your last 3 reps look like that, maybe that would be a little more acceptable. But if 3 reps right out the gate looks like that, I would say it's too heavy. You're trying to improve the musculature of your back or trying to strengthen your back muscle. You're treating this like it's an explosive hinge. So your lower back, your glutes and your hamstrings are doing a lot of the work. And it's just beating up it's adding fatigue to your lower back that you're probably already getting from deadlifts and squats. And it's probably beating up your elbows, dropping the weight out like that. So in a way, it is a definition of all pain, no gains. So I would lighten the weight, use a little more, a little stricter technique. Now you do have a 225 for 5, and it does look the same. See if I can add anything. Personally, I prefer a Pendlay row, or at least a barbell row that touches the ground, because it keeps you honest with range of motion. If you allow yourself to get more and more and more vertical, you're just doing it because you're using too much weight. And so you can use more weight, or you can use the same weight as you get fatigued. I think that touching the ground each time and then trying to touch your body, that is a clear, distinct range of motion. Point A on the ground, point B on your body. So you're going all the way back down to the ground, touch your body, all the way back down to the ground, touch your body. So it's a clean, defined point A, point B, blueprint form technique for your barbell row. So I like to touch the ground. You don't have to pause on the ground like a true Pendlay row, but at least tap the ground. That's all I got for you. Okay, we got Draco here. Draco's got I lost it. 260-pound squat for 5 reps. The squat looks good, meaning your stance is good, your balance is good, your depth is good. I don't like the touch and go reps on squat. Pause at the top. I think you're leaving a lot on the table here. You could be grinding out these reps, or not grinding out, but doing these reps, performing these reps with a little more in the tank. If you just take it one at a time, don't be in a rush to get these 5 reps done. So when I say touch and go squats, I mean at the top you're just coming right back down. Take a big breath, brace, do 1 rep, exhale. Take a big breath, brace, down, up. So you are actually taking this as 5 singles in a sense. You're not going the touch and go. And I think that's going to make this set a little bit easier for you. What I'll say is your upper body looks a bit passive in this squat, especially, I think you said that was your second set. Did I just lose it? No. I think you said that was your second set of 5 sets. So if we look here at your 5th set, when you're a little more fatigued, I can see your upper body is not very tight. Your hands move around on the bar and your back starts to round over a little bit. What I would suggest is widen your grip just a little bit and don't look up so much. Keep your head a little more neutral. I think keeping your head and neck more neutral and in line with your spine, your back, that will allow you to keep your back tight. When you look up like this, you look up, you wrench your neck up, your back bends over, so you get this kind of arched back, arched head, so this like question mark kind of back. It's not that bad, but I do notice that as the set gets heavier. And when your back starts to fail, when your spine starts to round over, when your back muscles start to fatigue and start to not hold your back isometrically, the force that you're transferring into the ground, you're pushing with all this force with your leg muscles, you're pushing in the ground as hard as you can. It has to travel up your legs, up your spine, and into that barbell. And that is the weak link of your back rounding. So your legs are pushing with everything you got, but the bar is just pushing through mud because your back is the weak point. Your back is the power leak. So keep that spine rigid. Tuck the chin, keep your back tight, maybe widen your grip a little bit. Widening your grip a little bit is just going to keep your arms from moving around so much, I think. Try it out, just to keep your back segment tighter. And take a break in between reps. Other than that, your squat looks good, my friend. Another strongman movement, we got a log press. It's going to do 235 for 3 reps. Right when I opened this video, I said, isn't this where Canby trains? Or this is a gym that Nick Canby has trained at? If Nick is in the area, talk to him, man. Talk to him about some log press technique. And if you can, join one of his seminars, one of his workshops. He's a great guy, a good teacher, and successful strongman. All right, so your clean looks good. I wouldn't change anything. The one thing, and I don't know if you even notice this, the one thing you're doing is every time you dip, once you get up to your shoulders and you dip forward, and then you end up having to chase the log out. So I'm going to watch this rep again and then give my advice. You got the handles angled away from you. Good strong pick. Getting your belly underneath that log. Staying vertical. Pulling your head back as you roll. Good. So what I'm going to suggest is as you dip, you can see if you slow down. When you dip down, you go way onto your toes and you get forward. So what I would suggest is keep your feet flat. I don't know what shoes you're wearing, but if you have squat shoes or Olympic weightlifting shoes, try and wearing those. That might help you. But you want to think about pushing your knees out. So your knees go out, hips go straight down. You don't push your knees forward so much. You don't put all the weight on your toes. Your knees go out, torso and hips go straight down. So it's like a piston, straight up and down. And then the other thing I would say is you got to be very active with your upper body when you're doing the log clean and press, when you're doing the press part of it, the dip. So you want to actually, with your hands, squeeze the handles as tight as you can, like you're trying to put fingerprints in the barbell. And then roll the log, actively roll the log back to your head, drive your elbows up, press that log back into your neck so that it's stuck there. So when you dip down, nothing moves. Your elbows don't drop, the log doesn't come forward. It's just a straight up and down like a piston. Straight up and down, torso, hips, straight up and down, log straight up and down, and then it'll drive it up and back. And I think that's going to make the log press much smoother and the lockout much easier. The challenge with this log, if you've never done a log press, it's the diameter of the log. So you're used to pressing a 27.5 millimeter barbell, right? This big. You're able to press that up and back to your midpoint of your shoulder pretty easily. But when the log is 8 inches, when it's 10, 12-inch log, and it's way out here, all that weight is out here. So you have to really, in order to get that log close to your midline, your balance point, you gotta wrench your neck up, roll the log back, extend your upper back really hard to get that weight over your midpoint so that you can dip and drive and stay balanced. So that's the challenge, and there's just some cues that I offered that I think will help you maintain that balance on the dip and drive of your press. Other than that, these log presses look good. All right, so Felix, 330-pound deadlift for 5 reps. Now, Felix. So he says he uses a platform to elevate his feet or his heels because his ankle mobility is poor. So he's using this as a temporary solution. Please don't mind. Felix, I do mind. you don't need this. You don't need this at all. And let me explain to you why. You don't need the platform under your heels. I think your ankle mobility is good enough. What you're doing here is, well, first, if you don't understand, the heel, the platform or the surface underneath the heel raises the heel up so that when you squat down, your ankle doesn't have to bend so much. So if I was to, let me show you like this. So if this was your ankle, when you squat down and this is your shin, your knee goes forward, so your ankle has to bend. If you don't have great ankle mobility or you can't flex your ankle very much, by lifting the heel up, now you're making that angle greater than 90 degrees. So when you squat down, you only have to go back to 90. So if you do have struggle with ankle mobility, or you have poor ankle mobility, ankle flexibility, then raising your heel is going to help you get down to body position more comfortably. I don't think you need that. You, at the start, are sitting your hips down really low, so you like to wind up and literally drop your ass to grass. Like your hip crease is lower than your knee. This is solid squat depth. And you're pulling all of your weight, all behind the barbell. This is just unnecessary movement. I know you might use it as a way to wind up your legs, but when you actually pull, if you freeze the bar, so if I was to freeze the frame right when the bar leaves, that is a perfect deadlift position. When the bar actually comes off the ground, you're in a great position. So you don't need the platform under your heels in order to get in that position. Your ankles are at like 90 degrees. I've worked with a lady who had fused ankles. So her ankles were, I don't understand the process, but it's just rods in her ankles and feet. So her feet were at 90 degrees. Did not have any mobility, literally could not bend her ankle. She could deadlift fine. She would just kind of do more of like a straight leg deadlift. So I'm sure you can do the same. You got some gnarly, like it looks like you're wearing like armor on your shins. They're maybe like soccer shin guards or something, I don't know. But I'm assuming that's just to protect you from the barbell, protect your shins. But anyways, this position you're in, when I freeze the frame, your hips are at a perfect height. Your back angle is at a perfect height. Your knees are right inside of your elbows. Front of your knees flush with the front of your arms. And this is good. I don't think you need the platform under your feet. I think this position is great right here. So try to get in that position and then pull from there. You don't need to squat down ass to grass before each rep, which might be why you think you need something below your heels. But that's the only thing I wanted to comment on. If I was to freeze this, if I was to get rid of the mat underneath, and I was to freeze this right before the bar leaves the ground, and then start it right when you lock out, it's an excellent deadlift. Looks very good. Your lockout looks great. You're keeping the bar against your legs, pulling the bar up the front of your legs the whole time. That's it. I'll just change your starting position. So you're not doing that Eddie Hall deadlift. You can do that if you want, but if you are unable to do that because of your ankle mobility, don't sweat it. Just don't do that. This is Jake doing 225 for 3 reps. This bench press looks great. There is nothing that needs to be fixed. The reason I saved this video is to talk a little bit about bar path. So I've talked about it before. The starting position for the bench press is directly over your shoulder joint. So when your arm is in compression against the bench, that's your point A. Your point B is going to be a little bit lower than your shoulder joint. So that's maybe mid-sternum, maybe nipples. Some people, just depending on how long their arms are, or how close they grip the bar, might be like the very top ab. So anywhere between there is where you're going to touch. That's your point B. So you got point A, down to point B, back to point A, down to point B, A, and so on. One benefit of arching, which you are not really doing, you're just kind of a flat-backed lifter. That's okay. You don't need to have a crazy arch. But one benefit of arching is you bring this point on your body, point B, you bring it closer to point A. Point A is over your shoulder joint. Point A is over your shoulder joint. Point B is maybe right at your nipples. If you're flat backed, you have this distance that the bar has to travel. So the bar goes down this ramp this way. So this horizontal travel of the bar. It's necessary, but it doesn't need to be extreme. So if you can arch and bring point A down and point B up, you bring those 2 points closer together. So now I'm here at point A, point B is higher. When I drop, point B goes lower. So this distance the bar has to travel this way is less. So if you can get a little bit more arch, if you want to, get a little bit more arch, stick that point B, stick your chest up towards the ceiling a little bit more, I think it's going to help you with bar path. These reps were good, but the second rep is a little stickier than the first and the third. And you notice that when you press the bar, it goes off your chest up and back to your shoulder joint, which it should. But the second rep, you sort of press up and get stuck out there. So it immediately goes up off your chest, straight up, and it gets stuck out there in no man's land. And then you have to fight to grind to get it back over and lock it out. On your third rep, however, it moved faster than your second rep. You did a good job of getting off your chest, over your shoulders, and then you just smoothly lock it out of your triceps. So you have to get it back over your shoulder joint. If you hear someone like the West Side guys or any geared lifters and they're calling back for bench press, or they'll say flare the elbows, flare the elbows. They're trying to get the bar back over their shoulder. So they're here. I'm not telling you to, don't worry about flaring your elbows. Your elbows will do what they need to do if you just press the bar back. So worry about bar path. Don't worry so much about what your elbows are doing. But if you hear people saying flare the elbows, all that's doing is bringing the bar back over your shoulder joint so you can lock it out. So it's in a better position. This is why it's easier to grind out a machine bench. You know, if you're machine benching like this, you don't have to worry about bar path. You can just push as hard as you can there. So if you can get that bar from here back over the shoulder joint, it'll be easier to lock out. So arch more, it's going to bring point B closer to point A. You might think about a helpful cue when I was powerlifting and trying to bench maximum weight. I would think about, instead of lowering the bar, you're thinking about bringing your bar to, instead of thinking about just lowering the bar, you're thinking about bringing your chest to the bar. So here, I'm bringing my chest to the bar, 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 and then press. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in on this 4-part series. Until next time, always remember, train on time.